Hello, students. Today I'm going to talk to you about Congo. Now, you should have watched by this time War Witch. You also should have read at least part of How Dare the Sunrise to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So let's just go forward with this. All right. First of all, I want to be clear. There are three Congos we have to deal with. There's the Kingdom of Congo, which is spelled with a K, and that is the kingdom that's based around the Congo River, and it gets its name from the Congo River. Then there's the Congo River system, it's the second largest river in Africa, flowing through the Congo Kingdom. And then there's the modern day Democratic Republic of the Congo, which was known as Zaire up until the 1990s, well, from the 1960s into the 1990s. And then you have the Republic of Congo, which when you travel in Africa, you got these countries with the same name like Guinea and Congo. Well, the Guineas, you got a different name for each one of them. Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Equatorial Guinea. And then for Congo, you just hit Congo Brazza, which is Congo Brazzaville, or Congo Kinshasa, which is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I also want to be clear that the original Congo Kingdom covered parts of Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Republic of Congo, which you see there in the first point. It was a huge kingdom, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this kingdom. All right, the Kingdom of Congo from the 14th to the 19th centuries, around 1375. Nimi Anzima, who was a ruler of Mbimba Kasi, he married a daughter of Nzima Lao of Mbata. So when he did that, they had a son, Lucena Luenimi. Lucena Luenimi brought both of those kingdoms and other kingdoms together and founded the Kingdom of Congo. By the 1500s, it was a strong centralized kingdom with several provinces based on the former kingdoms, smaller kingdoms that were brought in. Some of them were brought in by force, some of them were brought in, through marriage and other types of alliance. But it was this huge kingdom was created. And I say huge because when you think in terms of the forest that they had, if you look all over Africa, you don't have large empires and large kingdoms. Well, let me say it again. You don't have very many large empires or large kingdoms created in the forest belt. And the forest belt of Africa starts on the west side from a southern area of Senegal, and it goes all the way down to southern Angola, or about to the middle of Angola. And if you look at the map, that belt stretches all the way across Africa, all the way across. If you look at the map, so on the other side, you're looking at it ending in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the other side of the Congo, that area. It's a huge rainforest belt that covers the central part of Africa. And you got several countries in that rainforest belt, including Ghana on the west side. You got the Central African Republic. You got parts of Nigeria. You have parts of Burkina Faso, the southern part of Senegal. You got Liberia. You have, I said parts of Nigeria, but you actually, all of Nigeria is in the forest belt. Cameroon is in the forest belt. No, not all of Nigeria, because northern Nigeria is in that desert part. But you have a lot of countries in that forest belt. And before the Europeans came and created these countries that are in Africa today, the only one that was not created by Europeans is Liberia, because it was created by Americans, and Ethiopia, because it was created by the Ethiopians who still live there. The rest of them were fabricated, just created out of nothing by Europeans. You have this forest belt, and in that forest belt, you don't have very, very large kingdoms like the Kingdom of Congo. Not very many. You got the Kingdom of Congo, you got Ashanti, you got a few others, but even Buganda never grew to what it probably would have grown if they didn't have this thick forest belt. And if you don't understand how thick this forest is, I'll give you an example from when I lived in Liberia. If they didn't hack back the forest, if they didn't hack the forest back every 2 weeks, the forest would grow over the road. That's how thick it is. When I think about the Garden of Eden, I think about it must have been something like the forest belt in Africa, because there's all kind of fruits and vegetables grow wild there. You got animals that you could trap and eat. You can live in that forest and never have to worry about farming. Literally all year long is something to eat growing there. But that's good for one part. But on the other part, when people are trying to move around and trying to govern the kingdom, it becomes very complicated. So they had this system in the Kingdom of Congo to bring these people together. And I'm not going to get too deep on that. Just know that by the time the Portuguese get there, they started plotting on how they can destroy the kingdom. They weakened the kingdom from within with the transatlantic slave trade. Because the first Portuguese who come to the Congo came to set up churches. They came to set up businesses. They came to farm. They came with all other type of things in mind. What they eventually end up doing, because this was the most lucrative thing, was getting into the transatlantic slave trade. So the Portuguese were shipping slaves all the way over to what we know of today as Brazil. And while they're shipping these slaves over into Brazil, they started stealing people. Stealing people because the Congo had its own interior slave trade where they would go out and have wars with people, and they would conquer people and they would become enslaved, or they had people who had slaves already who had been slaves for generations. They would sell them. They had all kinds of things going on, but the Portuguese didn't care about how the slave got there. There were even instances of some members of the Congo royal family who was traveling to Portugal for education and whatever things they had going on, who were taken captive by these slave traders. And all of you talk about Portuguese bakers, Portuguese stonemasons, Portuguese priests even were abandoning their occupation to get involved in the slave trade because you can become rich overnight. And they would just steal people. They would steal people. And I know it may be hard for you guys to understand that in Africa there was slavery. In Africa there is slavery. And race was not the denotation of whether you were a slave or not. Well, everybody's black. The people who are slaves, they're black. The masters are black. Well, the Portuguese, they just grabbed anybody. They were kidnapping kids, putting them on boats, kidnapping royal people and putting them on boats and sending them over there. This is what was happening, and they weakened it from inside. Then, of course, the Kingdom of Congo had problems just like everybody else. Every time a king would die, there would be some issues, a little civil war with who's going to be the next king. That weakened it also. Portuguese took advantage of that. And by the early 1900s, they just absorbed the whole Kingdom of Congo into their colony of Angola. By the way, it was a king of Congo who gave them that land to establish their colony of Angola on the coast. It's a mess. It's a mess. The history of it makes me very upset. Whew. Next slide. All right. Now let's talk about the Republic of Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Pierre de Brazza explored the Congo River to the Congo Basin for France in 1879. Then Henry Morton Stanley, who was a British person, explored the Congo River for the Belgian king, Leopold. And they just established this area for France, and this other area was for Belgium. Mind you, nobody asked the people who were living there. Leopold did not claim what became the Democratic Republic of Congo for his country. He claimed it for himself. He said it was his own personal fiefdom. And around this time in the early 1900s, when people were using rubber to make tires, because first they made rubber, using rubber to make bicycle tires, and then when cars got on the road, they were using rubber to make tires. It's kind of like there's a lithium boom right now because of all of these devices we make that use batteries that require lithium and coltan also, by the way, which are minerals that are found in the Congo. Well, rubber grows naturally in the big forest, rainforest there. It grows naturally. So the people, Leopold had people going out to collect rubber, and he had his soldiers. And they would go to a village and force all the men to go out and collect rubber, and they would keep the women and children back. And if you came back, you didn't have the quota of rubber that you were supposed to get, they would chop off one of your children's limbs or your wife's breast or one of your limbs, your wife's breast, because you can't feed a baby without the breast. I know y'all think about formula, which you shouldn't be giving that mess to your babies anyway, but that's another thing. And if you look at this picture, my little video there is concealing it, but it says, why are we only taught about one of these two monsters? And we know about Adolf Hitler and all the horrible things he did to the Jewish people, but you don't hear much about Leopold, King Leopold. It's not a part of our everyday curriculum. And Leopold killed more than 15 million Africans. Hitler killed about 10 million European Jews and gypsies, and he killed some black people in Europe too. So Leopold did all these things, disrupted society, introduced levels of violence that was worse than the levels of violence that was there during the transatlantic slave trade. This all happened there in the Congo. Why? Because they have wealth, because they have riches. All right, so the 1990s came. I'm skipping ahead because after Leopold comes through, Congo Kinshasa is liberated, and it becomes Zaire. Well, it was Congo, and then they had a president named Kasavubu, and they had a prime minister named Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba was trying to avoid being, under the control of the Americans. And the end result of that was he was killed by the CIA and the Belgian government. They killed Patrice Lumumba. Eventually, Kasavubu was killed. And this guy right here, you see with the leopard skin hat, that's Mobutu Sese Seko, who was the dictator of the Congo from the 1960s until 1996, when Laurent-Désiré Kabila, with his army, came up and defeated in the forces of Mobutu Sese Seko. What you see here now is Nelson Mandela, who was there to broker a peace between these two. And when Kabila came, things actually got worse for the entire part of the country because his army didn't control the whole country like Mobutu's army controlled. And you had people just coming in. Anybody who came in to get minerals under Mobutu had to go through him, and he would get some of it. And then Mobutu was a multi-billionaire with a B in the 1990s from all of the loot, the minerals that he had looted from his country and just sold to the highest bidder. Whereas when Kabila comes in and shortly dies not long after, without the strength to contain the whole country, you had people creating warlords out of local men, giving them arms and then paying them to get the minerals out. So now the people are getting the minerals out for pennies on the dollar and enslaving people to do so. We'll talk more about this. This is the Congo, which is the richest mineral wealth in the entire world. It's right there in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a country that has not known peace since 1996. Well, this is the Second Congo War. Okay. The Second Congo War, which really was the Third World War, because you had these other countries in Africa brought in. Why don't they call it the Third World War? It's because the Western media is controlled by Eurocentric people. And if Europe wasn't directly involved, they don't talk about it, but Europe was involved. America was involved. So let's look at it. You got the ones in blue, Angola, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, who participated directly with armies. And then you got the lighter blue, Chad, Central African Republic, and Sudan, who sent in a little bit of their military support. Then you got the political support coming from Rwanda, Burundi, not Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia, and South Africa. And then you got the negotiation taking place in Uganda and Rwanda. Please believe all of these countries were trying to get some of the wealth of the Congo, taking advantage of this war. I don't want anybody to be deceived on that point. All right? This makes me upset. I'm trying to keep my cool, but this really makes me upset. All right. World War III, 1996 to the present. You got the First Congo War, 96 to 97. Laurent-Désiré Kabila overthrew Mobutu Sese Seko. Zaire became the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Second Congo War, 98 to 2003. Uganda and Rwanda invade Eastern Congo. Laurent Kabila is killed. His son takes over. And the Third Congo War starts in 2004 and is still ongoing in the mineral-rich Kivu province of Eastern Congo. They use rape as a weapon. And I'll explain to you. I mean, I don't know why I have to explain this. Maybe I think in America we live in a bubble. We don't understand that the importance of reproduction. We don't understand the importance of sex. You don't have a country without reproduction, and you don't have reproduction without sex. And these men are going in there, raping these women to destroy them because women are the center of the continuation of humanity. Why? Because not only do women incubate the human child for 9 months within her body, a woman also feeds that child without formula. Her breast is the one that feeds that child, and she cares for that child until that child is about 2 or 3 years old, can start doing some things on his own. And you know the mothers keep caring for the child. So if you incapacitate the mothers, you incapacitate the entirety of humanity, and that's what they're trying to do. They go to these villages, they get all the women, they bring them into a central place, and they rape all of them. And rape totally destroys a woman's mentality. It takes a while for her to get over that, just to get back. And some of these women were, because these are gang rapes, and I hope I'm not triggering anybody, but this is history. This is stuff that's going on even now. Because of the gang rape, some of these women aren't able to reproduce. And in Africa, where they don't live in bubble, women crave to have babies. They want to have at least a child, because not only because you want to see another version of yourself. That's a natural inclination of humanity. And when you see that not happening in a society like in an American society and in Europe and most Western society, where you see people saying, I don't want any kids. There's something sick and wrong in that society that produces individuals like that. So I'm telling you, it's something sick and wrong in our society, if you didn't know. That's another thing that makes me angry. But then with these women who want to have babies, they don't live in a bubble. They want to have babies because they have this natural inclination to reproduce. They also don't have a retirement plan, because in these societies, who takes care of you when you're old? Your children. If you don't have children, and because of war and destruction, your sisters and brothers don't have children, who's going to take care of you when you're old? This is heavy. This is what's going on. Why? Over a few dollars, over some money, something as silly as wealth. Absolute absurdity of capitalism that's killing the whole world, killing America. Jesus, have mercy. They also use child soldiers. You destroy childhood. You read about in How Dare the Sunrise, Sandra's oldest brother was taken from the family and forced into child soldier. They got him back, and she doesn't talk much about him. She said he was never the same after that. And if you stay with this class, you're going to read the second one about the child soldiers in Sierra Leone, Ishmael Bear. And again, the last point is what I already said. If you recognize this is a world war because of Eurocentric media and academia, academia is also Eurocentric, and that's why the AES departments at Brockport exist, to reshift the focus from a Eurocentric focus to a global focus and to add perspective. This is an actual picture. I don't remember the year of this picture, but this is in the Eastern Congo, where you got companies from Europe, China, and America who got the mines, the minerals, and they're mining what? Coltan and cobalt. And if you watch War Witch, you'll see them talk a lot about coltan. They use them in making batteries for our mobile devices, including the ones I'm using to make this PowerPoint. These militias are funded by the guys who get the minerals. And actually, the guys go in, they give them guns, they create these militias, they force villagers, they enslave villagers and force them to work in the mines. Then they deliver the minerals to these multinational corporations. Some of them are not multinational. They get that and then they sell it to us and we use it. Some activists said we need to stop using these devices. Well, others said that we petition the companies to give the people livable wages and good working conditions. I think it's better if we tell the companies, look, y'all give these people livable wages and working conditions. Because I know y'all heard of blood diamonds. They made a whole movie about it. But now you got blood cell phones, blood laptops, blood iPads. Because it's coming from these people's blood. I want y'all to actually think about, what do you think about this? What do you think about it? For further reading, you got King Leopold's Ghost by Adam Huschchild. And here is a new cover that doesn't have King Leopold on it, but actually has a picture of one of the Africans who suffered this. And then you got Njinga of Angola, Africa's Warrior Queen by Margaret Haywood. Alfonso I, Mvimba Nzinga, King of Kongo. And my little circle video is partially obscuring this picture of this book. The Kingdom of Kongo, which is an old book, came out in 1983, still valid. It's hard to find a copy of that outside of libraries. And of course, the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, which was reissued recently. So it's a new version of the book, translated into English. You have all these things available if you want to learn about the troubled history of the world's richest nation. Do that. All right, I'm done.